Alright guys, welcome to another exciting video. Now recently Game Turbo 5.0 came out. It had a lot of features missing and a few features added. We did do a lot of testing on live streams as well, but benchmarks are something we could not check. So I have two devices in front of me, the Poco X3 Pro and the Redmi Note 10 Pro. Both of them are running on the latest stock ROM. I've ran the benchmarks with and without Game Turbo and the results are pretty interesting. So that's what we're going to check in today's video. How much difference does Game Turbo make to raw performance on your device? And before we get into the details, if you haven't already, please subscribe because it doesn't cost you anything and it really motivates us to make amazing content like this. Now without further ado, hello awesome people, welcome to PhoneOps. My name is Kailash. Let's get going. Now, before we begin, if you have not already, please also go ahead and participate in the giveaway in which you can stand a chance to win one of our premium cases. The link is mentioned in the description. Now, to the left, of course, we have the Redmi Note 10 Pro. And if you go to About Phone, you will see this running the latest version. To the right, of course, you have the Poco X3 Pro. This is running the latest version of MIui 13 as well. For Poco X3 Pro, it is 13.0.2. And for the Redmi Note 10 Pro, it is 13.0.4. Now, we are not on any sort of mod. The only change that I've made is I have rooted both the devices. That was needed for getting that FPS meter. Now, let's talk numbers first of all. So, the Game Turbo has a few features and ideally it should make a difference, but let's see what happens over here. Now, the CPU throttled to 69% of its max performance and the average score was 134,544 GIPS. This is without Game Turbo. Now, if we look at the same score, highest one, 159,791, the lowest is 76,060. Now, when we enable Game Turbo and the performance mode that you see over here, this particular performance mode, the one toggle which is available in battery, our score jumped from 69% throttling to 78% throttling, which means the throttling improved. The average score went from 134 to 140 to 829. The minimum score went from 60,000 to 96,000 and the maximum also increased to 161,207 GIPS. So at least in the CPU throttle test, there's definitely an improvement. But what about other benchmark numbers? Now, if we further talk about AnTuTu benchmark, we have two scores over here. This is without the Game Turbo enabled, 328,195. With Game Turbo enabled, 334,050. Once again with the performance mode. Okay. Now, only thing we are left with is Geekbench. Now, without Game Turbo, you got 538 single core and 1700 multi core. But with Game Turbo, 560 single core and 1764 multi core. Now, another thing here is I did try to game on this device using the stock ROM yesterday, but I was not able to. Apex Legends, even on the lowest settings, was simply not playable. Now, let's talk about the Poco X3 Pro. Now, if we talk about the Poco X3 Pro over here, as you can see, we just have the CPU throttle test. We've not tried other benchmarks, but this test alone should give us a fair bit of result, right? Now, ideally, things should not change when it comes to a mid-range or a high-end device. But as you can see over here, there are not many differences in between both the scores. 91 and 91 throttling, 168, 741 GIPS, 170, 451 GIPS. So on the Poco X3 Pro, at least enabling Game Turbo and performance mode didn't really make a lot of difference. But then when we put in the Mi 11X into the picture, well, it did really make at least 5 to 7% of difference in performance to the Mi 11X as well. So Game Turbo 4.0, 3.0 or 5.0, it doesn't really matter. Game Turbo is something that optimizes your system and tells it that you are playing a game and all the resources need to be allocated. Now, not all the options might be very useful. Some of them might be gimmicky, but at least in my knowledge, this particular option for gaming and benchmarking of Game Turbo performance mode makes a difference. You should definitely use it, especially for devices which are not ultra high end and they can use every single extra FPS that you can get. Let me know in the comment section what do you think about this video. Until the next one, this is Kailash signing off at PhoneOps. Keep smiling. Take care. Goodbye.